This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimilla, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. 1 second now, hold on. 3 times the charm, as I was just told. Well, let's try to make it happen, right? Thank you for joining me this Labor Day weekend. I guess everybody's got to wear white pants or shit like that. I don't know. I get all confused. I was away from America long enough to get away from all those little ridiculous things. So whenever I come back and people are like, dude, you wear... I mean, I was never wearing white pants, but people be like, you wearing white pants after Labor? I was like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Right.
But I am here in the studio. Sorry, guys, about the choppiness and the lack of sound. But, you know, when you don't have MTI, the man himself in the studio on the wheels of steel, he could be doing everything. Everything's great. Yeah, nobody believes me. I know how it goes. Everyone's like, yeah, right. This is the way it every week is. I'm like, yeah, well, when I'm on the road, yes, it's definitely like that. I'm the worst. I'm like always like one cable away. I'm like, motherfucker, the cable, the thing. And then I have to ask for it, and they're like, what? You can't get that? You know, and I was like, oh. I was in Hawaii trying to find this special TTYS plug or whatever the fuck it's called. It's like, and it has the multiple things, and I'm showing the guy, and he's like, everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, come on, somebody has to have it. It's for a camera. It's for, like, it's the normal thing. You just get it for, you know, like, amazing. So anyway, no more excuses. We suck. But in general, welcome to the show. We are here, like I said, on this Labor Day weekend. We're doing the Veteran Special. We have, in the studio, we have Matt Kahl, Veterans for Natural Rights, and we have Steve DeFino. What is it? DeFino. My eyes are so bad, I'm telling you. Veterans Alliance, and also they represent a few things, but 1620 those, and also kind of this ongoing documentary series called 1620, and I'm gonna let them explain the breakdown of that because it's actually like an ongoing project, as I was told, which is, you know. This industry is full of so many stories and direction, like miracles, and, you know, people coming back from all sorts of scripts and things. And it's like, you know, it's the most, you know, like literally the most obvious thing, like in Colorado where they said you couldn't claim PTSD for a condition. And I was like, what? I was like, that's like the most. That's like, hello, you know, like people get shells next to them and shit, crazy concussions and PTSD and CT and all the things we know cannabis is good for, and then they're not allowed to have it, or else they lose all their benefits. So then, you know, it's just kind of like a circular thing where they like, or, you know, you see the scam, and then as a vet, I'm sure. I mean, I'm far from that. I'm the opposite. Like I literally thought I was gonna go into the military when I was a kid so bad that I literally quit that and started smoking weed at 13, and kind of in my mind I was already like a hippie from the Vietnam War or something. I was like, you know, I totally like psyched myself out and like lived the whole life in my head. Obviously not taking, not doing like couple of bivouacs with Civil Air Patrol and making it look like I was like I was ready for it. You know what I mean? And they were like, and I did well with it, but at the same time, I was definitely pussying out when it came to the real deal shit. I was like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm out. Sounds okay. Amazing.
Awesome.
This is an awesome thing. Everything's rolling. So enough of my career in the military. So tell us a little. So we want to go. Maybe give you guys like, you know, idea, just to kind of throw down right out of the gate some of the you know, reasons you're where you're at right now, and, you know, maybe not the whole story, but just kind of what you had to deal with in this in a short sense. And I figure you guys kind of had some obviously different stories, but I'm sure overlapping because there's all sorts of, you know, similarities that run through any intense thing. If you go through it, you're like, you know, bonding, obviously, and all the fucking dealing with all the bullshit. But then at the same time, the you know the whole after effect is always the one that isn't the least known, most fucking long, the longest part. You know what I mean? No matter what. Yeah. So let's start with you or you. Oh yeah, we started. We did you last time. Let's do it.
All right,
We're professionals. This is only the third time we did this, so we should definitely have it down by now.
Hopefully this all comes out good.
Yeah.
My name is Matt Kahl. I'm founder and executive director of Veterans for Natural Rights. I was in the 101st Airborne from 2007 until 2011. I deployed to Afghanistan twice, and I was medevaced once during my second deployment. As a result of my injuries, they put me on a whole shit ton of drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, about 20 any given month, and I was dying. I was dying before everybody's eyes, and cannabis saved my life.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was it? It was just like from major injury, or is it from sort of after?
Yeah, I was medevaced with
Shrapnel?
three spinal injuries, traumatic brain injury, and I lost a little piece of my upper jaw. This stuff is fake right there. And a little spiderweb cracks up into my face, things like that.
Sure. I mean, and again, like the fact that here PTSD is not considered even had to like really fucking fight for it. And they finally got it, but it was
2017, we got it passed, and the governor sent me a copy of the signed bill and everything like that. It was great. It was proof of really that an average Joe could really go out and change the world.
Yeah, and I think we wanted to give us a little more as far as like after the deployment. You have any more like you want to? Should I just drop over to you, or what do you want to do?
And you good?
Yeah, sure. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. My name's Steve DeFino. I served active duty nine years as a combat engineer in Echo Company 168.
That's the same fly that comes back every show. I swear to God, like it's like no fly, and then during the show he'll be like literally on your mic driving you nuts. So when he does, just tell him to fuck off.
All right. So Echo 168 Combined Arms Battalion. Did 2 tours. My second tour, we were ambushed in Solder City, and I was in a route clearance vehicle, one-man Husky, looking for bombs. We were struck multiple times that night. The fifth one put a 5-inch hole in my back, and I was medevac back here. Had about 80 surgical procedures on my back. Had to learn how to walk and all that stuff again. Well, but didn't have a purpose after I got out and wanted to, make a difference, and was tired of just sitting around, and got with Matt. He started what was it called? The brew.
The what? The Bravo night or 4B night.
Yeah.
It was 4B stand for buds, of course. We would give out free weed at all these things, or free cannabis, as I hear that a lot of these words are no-go anymore, like marijuana. But we'd give free cannabis, and then beer and bacon, because one of the breweries, they would offer a free slice of bacon with every brew, and the last one is the only one that's required, and that's brotherhood.
Right. So we started, chopping it up, getting to know each other, doing this back and forth, and we would get out in my Suburban. I had a 3/4 ton Suburban at the time, and we'd all fill it up and start smoking out in it. And then we started getting ideas. Hey, we can do more than just this.
Right.
And I started Veteran Farmers Alliance. Matt started Veteran for Natural Rights, and we decided to team up and fight this together. And so we created events, and served hundreds and hundreds of people in the community, thousands and thousands of dollars in genetics and cannabis, and
Nice.
it was great. It was a great party, and unfortunately laws changed that made it extremely difficult for us to even do that. So we had this opportunity.
Did you guys ever get along the way? Did you have problems? People freaking out because it was crossing blowing their minds that people would be giving it. 'Cause I know when you give people weed, sometimes it's like you are technically in some places breaking the law by
Distribution.
That's actually, it's in our Constitution that gifting is protected up to 1 ounce.
Oh, here for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, for sure. You're in safe territory here, but I'm just saying, like, the minute you're outside of your, clear zone, people still expect you to be the same cannabis guys.
At one of the events, we handed out 6 pounds of flour.
A little more.
Yeah, a little more than that. Maybe 8 pounds of flour. $5,000 in genetics, so they gave around $11,000 away in nectar for the gods, soil, and nutrients. So it was a really great. Right next from my front, 70. So we ate for everybody was taken care of the whole time. No charge, nothing.
Yeah, it's sweet. I mean, that's the thing is, like, right now, people are all realizing that, it's, if we all do individual, if you have a family that's close by, you're gonna obviously, shop together and help out each other, because it's like, if you kind of all do your own thing, you just paying like double or triple of what you have to sometimes. And everybody goes to Costco and buys 12 bars of soap, so it's like, let me do 12 bars of soap. It's like, spread them out to the fam, but if you don't have that, if you're just by yourself and you're doing the norm, and it's expensive on its own, but then when you add on top of that, like for vets and for a lot of people who are like on a lot of meds, the amount that they spend on that is ridiculous.
Right.
Not the necessary, because a lot of the vets, obviously are getting most of their stuff subsidized by the military or whatever, but someone's paying for it. Everything's getting, it's making everybody pay more, and no matter what. Not like it's anybody's fault, but like the people who make them take all the bullshit, and then the people who pay. There's some crazy numbers adjusting going on along there. Where you're just like, you don't even know.
In my peak intake, I would probably spend, if I was producing it myself, but I'd probably spend almost $6,000 a month if I had to go to the dispensary.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
every single
vet that's disabled is on a fixed income by definition.
Right. And it's different when people need cannabis than when people want cannabis. But growing up, I always was a little bit skeptical about the medical side. Like even before there was ever a dispensary. Like when I was a kid, so we're talking like the late 70s and early 80s and stuff, where I was kind of like, I knew, because all my mom's friends smoked, so I kind of thought it was I always saw it as being normal. It wasn't like crazy. It wasn't at all crazy, but that was always like put me on the wrong side of everything. Like as a kid, I was like always on the wrong side because I liked weed. So. But now I'm on the right side. So it doesn't matter anymore.
It flip-flopped.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's like, really? Oh, that's weird. Even my mom, it's like, she'll be like, turns on the TV, she's just like, it's like, everything's about billions and tens of billions, and it's like, things are getting kind of out of proportion, which is true, and it's also like a lot of how much we were talking about earlier, how much it's costing. So you know that they're making tens of billions, and just like, from the amount that the government spends on other bullshit, you can imagine how much they're not giving the people, and then they're actually charging, back charging.
If they legalize marijuana, it would actually save the government money, because there would be so many fewer people seeking health care, and then charging that to the government's budget, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, or Veterans Affairs, hospitals, all of that stuff costs. But marijuana could save the government a ton of money.
Well, I mean, not to give anybody ideas or anything, but it's like, you got all these people that are able and ready to work and don't really have a great job, and then you got all this like land that they own that's like no one's allowed on. It's like, like down in Colorado Springs behind the Air Force Base there, where you're like sitting around and you're looking, it's like, as far as you can see, that's they're not like letting own that behind the base there, what I mean? So it's pretty much, probably as far as you can see, it's their land, and if they wanted to, they could just throw down overnight more than we even ever imagined, just on the scale that they can do stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's not like unheard of. It's just, but they just can't get it over. It's like it would just kill them to like be wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we're wrong. Even though it's like the famous sort of, it's mostly a painting, but I'm sure it comes from a photo or whatever. But the guy on the tractor back in in 42 when they were still doing hemp, and it was like the most classic photo. Yeah, and the classic photo for hemp for victory on the photo where the guys on and and he's military. It's like that was their job. That was what they're supposed to do. So, do you ever see that getting brought back in? Like, I mean, would that? I mean, I think it would be the most enticing thing ever if people knew that they were going to be able to. I'd be like, hey, I'll join that.
I would.
That would have changed the game for a lot of people, where they'd be like, really, they let you smoke weed? It's like, yep. Like, sure, let's join. Do you think they'll ever do that? Do you think they'll ever let vets consume or?
It's our goal to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, but do you see it happening in the next 5 years, or even?
Maybe. I mean, anything's possible. Anything.
Is there any inroads though? Is there like a angle right now where you see like, okay, we are like even considering it, like as far as I mean, because the thing is like what's happening outside of the military is that it's so undeniable that they're just. But obviously, it's hard to make the military criminal on anything. So of course they're gonna hold off until the bitter end, until the days. I think personally, I think the federal system will crunch in about 2 years. It'll be like, all right, fuck it. Like all states can do it if they back to state law, state rights, which it already kind of is already. You know what I mean? It's just that. Yeah,
states' rights. 2020 might be the turning point. I think.
That is my prediction.
If
for a long time,
if our president is if our president is smart. Legalize it right in 2020.
Yeah, I've heard that like silver bullet theory with Trump. That people are like, Trump people that I've talked to said he's going to legalize it. You watch, and I'm like, okay, so
we'll see.
that's the Trump, literally the Trump card, right? You're like, okay,
exactly.
So you're like, okay,
it would work too. I mean, it would be a brilliant move by him. It's like if he legalized cannabis. Cannabis is far more popular than any political candidate out there. Yeah, it's his only shot at like actually winning again.
Don't even fucking tell him these things. No, and the problem is that I don't even think that would do it, because I think if he does that, there'll be a double down from the Democrats. They'll be like, fuck, of course we're going to legalize. Are you crazy? I mean, we're going to legalize it intelligently, though, so not like with these bozos. And they'll be like, oh, what do you mean? And so then it'll be like a no-lose situation for us, because everyone's going to be throwing down their legalization cards. And so his Trump card won't really work. So
pray. Yeah, I would like to see all kinds of legalization.
That would be my
cards.
scenario of the cannabis throwdown this 2020. Because the thing is that we have no issues of overgrowing our capacity real fast. Like, it just hasn't happened yet. There hasn't been a state that's been short on the growing side. Everybody's been like, okay, we can do that much. We can do more. We just keep growing at the much rapider pace than any other industry. So it's like if we're allowed to grow an acre, we'll take an acre. And if we can grow 10 acres, an acre. If you say 100 acres, we'll do 100 acres. And if it starts to turn into hemp and we're allowed to do tens of thousands of acres, we'll do tens of thousands. That's just kind of the typical agricultural mentality. And I think it's going to be it's going to be the use of the cannabinoids in everything, which is going to be helpful. It's going to be interesting because it's like the whole like cycles of positive shit going down where you're like, what can they do to fuck this up? You know what I mean?
I'd love to see cannabis being grown on an even bigger scale. Everybody kind of thinks that the sky is falling every time there's a new report that comes out that says, prices are coming down because everybody's overproducing. But I would love to see, an ounce of marijuana that didn't cost any more than a pound of tomatoes.
ounce for a pound? What would that be like? That'd be like $2 or something?
Yeah,
$4?
it'd be great. I mean, it would probably reflect its actual cost if you were to grow it outdoors, you know?
Well, the thing is, like anything, it would become, I think the reality in America, as far as America's landscape would be, Central Valley would grow most of it because wherever the conditions are correct, and then they just ship it on train back to the East Coast, and then there'd be some small micros everywhere, and those would be nice, and those will be your new wine. Instead of being a bunch of wine people and driving up and down the coast of NorCal, you'll just sort of do that for every single city. Instead of having a brewery map, you'll have a microbrewery map of we're not brewery, but micro dispensary sort of models, and then chains everywhere that suck. Like
1 star to 4 star.
What time is it? Oh no.
Yeah, there's always going to be the Budweisers out there, but there's a lot of parallels between the wine industry and the cannabis industry.
Yeah. So you guys are into making any kind of other growing? I mean, you said you did before.
I did before. Yeah.
And you guys were giving out
I
clones.
still grow.
You said
It was clones. It was cannabis. It was flour, concentrate.
with the clones. Who was making all the clones?
Just me and some other people that were donating some of their time.
Nice. And did you give them to them like already in little pots and kind of
Like solo cups.
Yeah, get them to the point where they won't kill them on the way home. Type thing.
Right. Yeah.
Don't want to give them to every time you give somebody an actual clone and like the right time when they should take it and just take it home. Like take that tray home, do it yourself, and then they end up leaving it behind the door or something.
Exactly. I'd give it to them about after the initial shock. I'd give it to them. They'd have a little bit of a root zone established. I'd say give it a few days, like 5 days, go for a transplant. Use Mycos, do good water, but don't go over. Don't overwater it. Just let it do its thing. And guys were doing it right, and they started growing their own.
And Steve grew the best medicine on the Front Range when it comes to veterans.
Thanks.
Did you guys have a little vet cup or?
We wanted to.
We were going to.
It was in the works, but Steve moved back to Texas, and a lot of crackdowns and things like that on these public events, especially in the springs.
Right.
Well, we're discussing to do make an app now for ADSI, which is the Adam Dunn Show Invitational, and then have everybody do their own, load it all up, and it kind of guides you through the motions without having to get all high. Because part of the problem is whenever you do any cannabis event, doesn't matter what it is, somehow magically right at the last second, nobody really knows how to fucking score it properly. Everyone's all like, so how are we going to score it? I don't know, 1 through 5, 1 through 10. I did it like this. I did it like that. Everyone gets so high that they just start making shit up, and they're like, 4.256. You're like, you can't do that. It has to be a 1 through. I'd be like, the number. Well, that's what we got. So you have to really kind of get that all organized. But anyway, we're going to do it as an app, so it's pretty much have to keep tapping.
That's it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so we'll get then you guys can do your own little. Then you can have the winner of that. We'll load them up into the incredible Adam Dunn Show cloud that's up there somewhere. Making us fuck up all these times, right? That was completely.
It's all my fault.
No, it wasn't it was from the cloud, dude. It was the cloud's fault. So. Going back to kind of like the time that you guys spent in Afghanistan, because
Steve was in Iraq.
I was in Iraq for 2 tours.
You were in Iraq you were Afghanistan mostly, and you were in Iraq,
Right?
Okay. And so neither of you guys went to either of those other spots. Like there was no crossover.
No.
Okay. And then so Iraq was a couple of years.
Very urban.
And it was years the same time frame, or was it a couple years?
I was let's see here, 05, 06.
And
so I was there during the initial surge release when it got real bad, and then I also went 07, 09, but only made it 5 months before I got hurt.
Gotcha.
I was 08, 9, and 10 to 11.
Okay, so you were a little bit after.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so, Iraq's kind of like you said, urban.
Very Wild West, very backwards culture compared to here. Everywhere you turn looks like a threat. It's mud huts and stone little houses and just like shit everywhere. You know, you'd be going through and you have to like duck your head under these telephone wires and the internet underneath. Take our Bradleys through some areas and just rip them right down, you know, and it's the way it is.
Right. Well, yeah, it'd be dangerous for the. And then you guys, so you were there. So you said it was real bad as far as like a lot of action, obviously. And
Lots of action.
Definitely.
I was there, like I said, during the initial surge release. So basically, they released all the captured prisoners in Baghdad,
I remember
and they all went north. And we were some of the first waves to catch them. They were down in Tahrir, and I mean, it was a couple 12-hour firefights against them, you know, but it was pretty crazy.
Right, and they were armed by. Was there a certain because they
had RPKs, RPGs, RPG-29s. They had small arms, you know, AK-47s. They had what do you call those damn things? Mortars and all that
they had
stuff.
a lot of mortars.
Lots
Heat
of
rounds.
mortars. Heat rounds for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of IEDs.
And how many? What was the situation for Americans in that one? Like, was it a?
And during that time, we were still fighting the Taliban, and we were still trying to, we were still figuring out where like EFPs were kind of coming from, and things we were doing more policing at that time before the surge release, and then it went back to, you know, straight up war. Like we're getting hit, we got to make contact, you know, we got to exfil out. You know, I lost a couple vehicles, 2 RPGs, and IEDs, and so. It was action all the time, rooftops everywhere you went, and start people trying to pick you off. I mean, it was heavy at times, but sometimes it wasn't bad, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully some.
There's a few days, yeah. It was like, I mean, and I was a part of the headquarters platoon, so
different.
Originally, I was with a platoon, and we had a soldier that unfortunately passed in Iraq. He was killed in action, so I took over his position in headquarters. We were going out 3 times a day, and I was the gunner. And basically, every time a platoon went out, we'd roll out with them, and we'd catch everything they would catch.
So yeah, it was we just pretty much stood at the front end of it all. And then how many months was that in a row before you had any kind of? Did you ever have breaks in those time periods? Or
well, my break came from my hand injury when it was crushed. Early on in January of 2006, and so I went back for 2 months for it to heal. They put 6 pins in it and had to, you know, completely put it back together. Once I healed, went back, fought for another 9 months, and finished that tour out.
And that was the same place and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baghdad. Well, no, I'm sorry, it was Tahrir, Baqaba, I think Subak Sur. I forget exactly if that was first or second deployment. I get them mixed up sometimes.
And like, so during those situations, because obviously during training and stuff, there's going to be lots of testing and stuff, but when the people are out in the field, is there a lot of testing of people, or is there?
You mean like when we do field training prior to deploying?
Well, like when I'm saying when you're actually in action.
You're talking about urine tests?
Yeah. Do you guys get, do they come randomly ever for that, or only if you're like in a
when I was deployed, there wasn't
was.
any urine tests then, but there was a lot back in the rear.
Yeah, I had one.
During the time or before?
Because I'd gotten hurt, and they were probably like, "Oh, he's coming back."
So you had time out for a minute, then they were like checking you out.
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, nothing to worry about here. I'll piss."
Right. But like once you're in. They're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so something happened. So was there any cannabis use? Like when we were talking earlier, we said, because as far as all the spots you mentioned, I was like, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Those are like kind of the birth of cannabis. It's like the Cyber Pass is where it all kind of like literally came from, and that's kind of like or the Khyber Pass. I never know what to say.
Yeah, Khyber. That's
Khyber Pass.
Badakhshan province.
That's kind of like the, maybe not the mother of all of it, but it's pretty close. Seems like that's where it's really coming from as far as a pure cannabis plant, So, and then it kind of went from there worldwide, and then that's where the variables come from as far as equator plants are kind of longer and taller,
right.
And hermaphroditic sometimes because they're a little bit tweaked out from the conditioning that they've had over the last millennial, whatever, because people brought it down and dropped it, and then the ones that went to, the funny thing is like in the tip of Japan, very top of Japan. There's like one island there that has a lot of wild cannabis that's on it, but it's also
Hokkaido.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of like ropey stuff, and then there's a little bit of dopey stuff. Like if you kind of like you wouldn't know it because like some of it smells good and doesn't get you high, and then there's other stuff that looks ropey and it's kind of so it's really weird. But the thing is, you know, the Japs get real Japanese, sorry, Japs. The Japanese get real freaking on point about weed. They're like real. So they have guys out there. Yeah, so they've already got like tactical sort of situation where they have guys waiting, watching people pick. You know, if you pick them, they come out of nowhere. You know, and it's so
there's a little bit of
some good security.
Yeah, there's a little bit of there's a lot of cannabis all over Afghanistan, everywhere. Every place you'd go to, there'd be like either a small patch or a small field, and the natives use it quite extensively. I heard about some Americans using it, but I didn't really see much of that myself. Although the Afghan National Army, they'd carry around slabs of hash, just like, you know, big pound bricks, and
probably use it as money pretty much.
Almost, yeah.
I'd imagine. It's awesome because like you know that's like the end of an era for a lot of people because you know opium poppies are way more valuable than cannabis, so it's kind of like a lot of those farmers are like, you know, maybe been doing the same thing over and over.
They tend
had some awesome stuff at one point. Now they're like, oh man, fuck it, we'll just do these, you know, these for this guy.
It seems like they tend to grow the poppies in order to sell, and they grow the cannabis to use themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's like one of those things where they use it, and I mean, you guys probably know it. Like North Korea, also, you know, weed's always been legal because it's just easy, cheap medicine, you know, and then they don't really try to spend anything on anybody as much as possible. So I was like, oh, good, let them do that. So everybody's grandmother seems to have a plant hanging out the window, and so it seems like, I mean, not that I've been there, like I guess I'm like, yeah, everybody's got one.
It's part of what I don't understand about America is that it's easy and cheap medicine, and if we were allowed access to it, we'd reduce healthcare costs by quite a bit because everybody would be their own doctor.
Yeah, exactly, and especially when it comes to like senior citizens, vets, you know, people that like are costing a lot of money to everybody in the long run because it all gets passed. Everything gets passed on. It's not like oh, okay, I don't have to pay. But you know that someone's getting that bill and they're paying that, and then they're taking it and charging it towards these guys, and then these guys, you know, just it's an endless like flow back and kind of keeps going or whatever. So it's nice when people get off the grid and take care of themselves. Usually get healthier, you know, right?
Yeah,
90% of the time, it's in a better way. It's not even like, you know.
Yeah, 1,000%.
No questions asked. Just kind of like, oh, okay, well. Do you guys also? Because I went recently to Paul Stamets, sort of. You know who he is?
Yes, the mycologist.
Exactly. I went to a thing with him, and he was talking about. Like, because mushrooms are very similar, not similar, but you know, in the sense of miracle things to cannabis are miracle things.
Yeah.
And, like the combination of them both, like very neural protectors, and you know, helps keep those connections that are really important. And you start to look at, and the funny part, he blew up like, you know, the universe and you know, it looks like the brain, and it's just like inside of it, everything kind of emulates each other when you start looking at them in exploded view or whatever. But he was also talking about how the lion's mane, you know that one?
Yeah.
It's another like one of these ones where I was like, oh, that's it. That's going to be my regimen right now. You know, is there like a certain thing you guys run across that's been like super helpful and maybe not pharmaceutical?
Yeah, absolutely.
Besides cannabis.
I think we both have. It's actually one of the biggest drives of Veterans for Natural Rights right now. We're not just focused on cannabis. We're focused on all natural medicines. And there are a lot of different Schedule I plants out there that can help you. And mushrooms are one of them. We're working together with the Denver psilocybin initiative right now, and they're trying to legalize psilocybin in the city limits of Denver. And we'd like to see natural medicines of all kinds get legalized on a national level. I'm lucky enough to actually have my healing journey done in a half dozen, maybe a full dozen different movies and TV spots, and it's covered everything from ayahuasca to psilocybin to cannabis and other things too.
Nice. So, well, that's good. That kind of go in 90 directions right there. Ding. Next one. But what as far as, I mean, seems like ayahuasca, if it's, I mean, it is gonna be, that's gonna be a rough ride for a lot of guys. It's gonna be one of those ones where there's so much. That's like, I mean, I already was like scared of my own little wimpy life, and I'd be like, yeah, you know, like. But if you have any kind of traumatic situations or injuries or whatever along the way, and then you've been suppressing it, it'll be, I would think it'd be a pretty rough ride. But
yeah, it's definitely a preparation that you're going to take before you actually do it.
you know, you guys have experience with anybody personally, or you guys?
Yeah, I think we've both actually taken part in ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And it's played a huge part in both of our healings.
Nice.
I went down to Peru and we made a documentary about it called Soldiers of the Vine. And Steve, you went somewhere here?
I went to Orlando, Florida. I can't remember the name. It's escaping me right now.
Wally World.
Yeah.
To Wally World, and
But,
they had an ayahuasca ride.
Soul Quest ayahuasca.
Yeah, there you go. Soul
Yeah,
Quest
Soul
ayahuasca. Sat for 7 ceremonies. They had a shaman that came in and performed a very, very amazing spiritual ceremony.
So when you say 7 ceremonies, it means like 7 total sessions.
Like, yeah, you sit down, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you can either lay down after you take the medicine, or you can sit in a meditative position, you know, and you take the medicine, you sit with it as still as possible so it starts to, you know, work. But typically you drink 1 to 2 small, 2 ounce.
Yeah, they're just like large shot glasses
Yeah, sure.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of
And
small cups.
right, and you know, it's just more than just drinking too. It's also with the diet you have to follow as
course.
well.
Yeah.
And once it starts to work through you, you know, you have your intentions of what you want to work through as far as your trauma goes.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it pretty much kind of compartmentalized in my stomach, and then I was able to purge out that trigger. So now I can still have the emotion, but the trigger doesn't exist anymore. So it's like you going back to your childhood and thinking, oh, okay, that happened. It's no longer like, oh my God, and then it starts repeating in your head and everything. It's that no longer is there anymore.
And that was, you said you went through a bunch of ceremonies, so it was like each one kind of chiseling away at one major problem, or was there
Right.
like a lot of different ones?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends on how much trauma you have, and you know, I had quite a bit of trauma, but my intentions were specific traumas that I wanted to heal from. It wasn't just heal me from everything. That one was more of the last one when I drank. It was 3 cups.
Yeah.
And
Did by coming in with those, because that's one of the things about ayahuasca that I would be interested in, because I think that was my big issue. Is like, I mean, obviously I was going to try to go in more on a positive side, you know, but then you get kind of whipped around because you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
no,
It doesn't always respect your wishes.
no,
Exactly.
it gives you what you want, not what you need.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, the other way around.
Oh
I
yeah.
got you.
Need of
Oh yeah,
I
it gives
got
you what you need,
Yeah.
not what you want. Thank you.
I felt you on that one. But yeah, 100%. It's like that was the part that was scary for me, because I was like, you know, I don't really want to like delve in on one, because I think I made it through pretty good, and you know, I was just gonna go on the family issue, like yeah, I'm just gonna do it all good. But then all of a sudden, you know, start thinking about the life and death cycles and things, and the people that are there and close to, and what you don't do for them, and all that. Like that's so I was already like, oh no, it's gonna get too much real quick, you know, because there is a lot. I think everybody's real fragile, and you know, I get that just by any psychedelic. I figure out that I'm in a little bit of a zone where you're like, wow, just the fact that we can keep everything, the fact that we're on the air right now, the internet work, finally, after 3 attempts.
And
right?
the buzz isn't even there.
The buzz is gone. Things are all flowing better now, you know. But it took us so much to get to there, and then you take on top of that the rant, the thing, and that, and do and everything, and you're like, you go almost crazy because it's just regular life, you know what I mean? And then you guys on top of that have all sorts of crazy shit going on. But so when you do those psychedelics, did you manage to like really hone in each time you said like you're gonna come in on those? Did you actually clear those problems every time, or did you have to like, you know, because that seems like almost too amazing if you could like go in and like really sniper out certain things that were like really bothered you.
You can to some degree, but there's a lot of it'll hop around a lot, because one of the things that I found is that all of your traumas are linked somewhere. It's like a giant spider web, and you tap on one part of it and the whole thing will shake. I don't know if that was your experience.
Well, the first 3 ceremonies, my body didn't respond to the medicine. I mean, of course it was, but I just didn't know how to work with it. The 4th one is what cracked me open and basically showed me that I could love and forgive myself again. And then the 5th one was like, you know, rebirth, killing my ego. And the next few, it just kind of rebuilt me. Just let me it just took everything out of me. Just whatever I had an issue with, it just annihilated it.
Well, it's one of those things. I think a lot of people are scared of the purge part, which is kind of inevitable, right?
It's scary.
You got to deal with that part, obviously.
It's also an incredible relief, though.
Right.
You're literally giving up some of those problems that have been weighing you down for so long.
And how about like peyote or anything like that? I guess.
Yeah, I've got a little bit.
That.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of experience with peyote and San Pedro.
Was that like in a setting, like in a?
It wasn't with a traditional Indian ceremony or Native American ceremony. It was just gringos.
Right after a bunch of Molly.
No, not at all. There was definitely a ceremonial setting.
Was it actual peyote, or was it powder, or was it?
It was the tar and water. It was almost it's almost thick and soupy like ayahuasca is. It's similarly dark too.
Yeah, we did like the traditional with the 3 different steps, and tea, powder, which was more like a green powder, like really tasted like aspirin. But anyway, yeah, I was just wondering because I was I was on my way to a so-called ayahuasca ceremony when I on the way got the oh yeah, it's not ayahuasca, it's peyote, and I was all like geared up, like okay, I'm ready for this. I guess I don't really have and that was my problem, is I didn't have like a real. I thought I was going to do my homework, you know. I was going to go see a fucking teacher that I never met before, and it's going to be in the most crazy place, and he's going to be like, "What the fuck? Why are you here?" I'd be like, "I don't know, my family or something." Like I didn't have a great enough need at that point, I thought, but I had a lot of people who told me to do it, so it's kind of one of those like still on the list. And since I went down to Colombia recently, I realized, oh shit, next one of these trips I'll just have to get ready for that, be ready to go, fly down from there to there, because it'll be a lot cheaper inside, obviously, and then do it.
Yeah, San Pedro down there, it's pretty much the same, although you have to ingest a little bit more material because it's slightly less concentrated than peyote is.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that now I was kind of like surprised that I didn't get much visuals at all. I thought it was going to be all real like trippy, but it was more for me like speedy, and weird, like I had to deal with it because it was kind of like the mind fuck. It was kind of I was kind of like, well, wait a minute. Everybody here is not moving, because nobody would move. It was very much like just let the things happen, And it was cool. The ceremony was great, but the effect wasn't like the same as I was expecting. But maybe I'm a pussy too. I don't know. The other way, either I didn't eat enough, or didn't really like. But I was kind of like trying to. I did every round, so I never said no. I never said no, and everybody seemed to be like some either that or I don't know. It was weird. It was kind of like one of those. But right after it, once we were outside of it, in the different atmosphere, it was like instantly felt like after effects of just like when you're like, whoa, this is like the party's over, everybody's beaming, all the eyes, everybody's eye, and everybody was jibber jabbering and really like finally everybody everybody was so long, 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that. And, you know, so then all of a sudden, and then I was tired as hell. I was like, I'm ready to go. But I did quit drinking from that experience, so it was just good because I was like one of those. Guess I'll quit drinking because it was like really like clear during.
Seems to be pretty common with like all psychedelic medicines is that people tend to stop most of their addictive behaviors, whether it's alcohol or other stuff too.
Yeah, and I didn't even know. I was like, just happened. I was like, there you go.
That's what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to drink heavily. I used to pound them, you remember. Now it's like, whatever.
Yeah, and it was, again, I mean, I just drank beer. I wasn't like, I really didn't like hard alcohol. Never was like the last, I mean, I was the last guy at the bar, but not so much, and I would drink maybe, but I wasn't like dying for the drink so much. I just wanted to go somewhere that was open. Like more than anything, I'd be like, I don't care. Oh, you got no beer? No, whatever, we'll come in. I wasn't like, I got a beer. But I did, move to Colorado and be like, yes. There's fucking hundreds of breweries here, you know what I mean? Hundreds. And now there's like 30 in my neighborhood or whatever, but now I don't drink, so
yeah.
There you go. But in general, it was just like, oh yeah, this place is great, all this good beer. And I actually honed in on the flavor and the hops that I liked, and I was like, all right, now I know. I like that hops, so any company that had a Mosaic hops, I would be like, yep, that's the one, so it's like I literally got it, and then I quit. So like right at that moment, like I figured it out. Done. I was like, that's exactly what I like. I'm never going to drink again. You know what I mean? So now I know what to stay away from. So. And it doesn't really bother me either because it's like, it's fun to be the annoying guy who doesn't drink at the party at the group and, well, you don't drink? What? And I was like, psh.
It didn't really like make me completely stop drinking, but it did make me re-examine my relationship to every single one of the addictors in my life, and I found that a lot of my addictors weren't chemicals or drugs of any kind. They were behaviors. There's all kinds of stuff that we engage in on a day-to-day basis. Even like Facebook. I mean, how many people are addicted to that you know of?
Oh, it's rampant. Even everybody. I mean, including myself. We're like, if we're almost happier to be alone so we can look at our Facebook than to have somebody roll around and talk to them. Like, get the fuck away from me. Yeah. Now I gotta not sit and absorb myself in my thing. But it is, it's. I mean, having a kid makes it kind of a little more relevant, because you're like, okay, got to keep the phone away from him because then he knows how to open it up, knows how to do everything. It's like, oh my God, dude.
Well, they follow your example too, If you're on your phone all the time, they're going to be on theirs.
Oh yeah, so like we're like always trying to hide ours, hold ourselves back, but it is, you can feel that like you know exactly you want to check it out. He's not like check it out, It is crazy, but we're also in such a short time frame too. That's also weird because. So how old are you total? How old are you?
I'm 41.
I'm 38.
Okay, so you guys are about 10 years, 10 years younger, and it's just like I lost my total train of thought. Ask the age for some reason. I was gonna like compare something there, but living before having phones and dealing with like street lights are on, you gotta go home or whatever. There was always like the classic stuff that people don't even get now. They're like just making your own cassette tape or all this kind of stuff that you're like tripping out when kids are gonna not experience, like a lot of weird little things. And not having a phone was probably the biggest blessing we've ever had, like as a kid. Like I'm like, oh, thank God.
I'm glad I didn't have one,
like
for sure.
So glad.
I didn't have one until I think I was like 16, 17.
Yeah, and I was in. I think I bought my first phone in Holland. Yeah, I did. I bought my first phone in Holland in like 80 or like 91 or something like that. And that was like. So I was already like 21 or something like that. And yeah, it was just funny because it was like you know, you see how fast all that stuff is gone, and like all the, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a bit. I mean, obviously, now being a conspiracy nut is trendy, you know, and we're already past trendy because now you're like getting lumped in with a whole bunch of other people. But I still always had like the, you know, like we know we got open microphone somewhere, some stupid app, you know, there's some back channel to something or whatever, and you know, you almost have to like assume that everything is now being recorded. So, did you guys have access to like crazy military grade stuff that now you see? Like one of the things I always wonder about is, you know, the guy with the flying board, right, the French guy. I was like, wouldn't the military have shit like that already? Wouldn't they already be having like whole troops of dudes just crew like? You guys have any kind of secret information? No,
I don't know.
There's no advances into the like.
I mean,
We had a lot of equipment, but most of the stuff that I was signed for was all to destroy stuff and kill people.
Right.
yeah, we had I'll tell you this much. We had like this urban assault Connex, and it had some stuff in it that I don't think you even see right now. It was pretty neat, but I don't think we even really used it a whole bunch.
It's like a mini like warthog or something on the
Nah,
on
it
wheels
was
or
just-
something. It's like,
It was just very.
yeah.
It was weird equipment. Some of it was weird. Some of it was like, it's like, how does this work? That's crazy. It's like, am I holding this? Is it gonna give me cancer?
Crazy, right? I mean, the Chinese have built. You've heard about the Chinese have a sort of handheld laser thing that they've already like perfected and say they can have in production in a year or something like that. And they were like, I don't know. That would be classic because of their, you know. I'm sure anything we use is gonna have some Chinese fucking part in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you like turn it off, like turn off the Z-Pod. But yeah, I mean, you guys. So you were in infantry, you said?
No, it was.
I was
combat.
infantry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was a combat engineer.
Okay, combat engineer. And what combat engineer is that like? Building quick, like when things coming in beforehand and building anything, or is
Well, no, not really for us. It's more of about blowing stuff up, breaching,
like working the
going inside like minefields and clearing minefields,
Gotcha.
doing route clearance.
uh-huh.
I mean, we did everything.
And the terrain that you were working mostly in was urban, you said?
Very urban.
So it was kind of like, I mean, not as like
Like Denver, but homes.
right. Yeah. So that's and mostly destroyed homes, probably. I would assume.
Lots of homes with lots of damage.
Yeah.
Either by
Unfortunately.
IEDs or rounds.
Mhm.
So.
And what about just like every fucking I guess every zone has its own issues, but like spent uranium or like all those kind of like the heavy shells or anything that you guys have to deal with, those kind of like the stuff that like would, cause that's, I think heavy metals is one of the problems that those places have as far as like the reality of the stuff used to launch it plus the shit that
Right.
it lands in. And,
There's all kinds of stuff we're exposed to. I mean, and not all of it is just weapons. I mean, we're hit with 100 different vaccines before leaving the country, and some of them cause massive internal damage. Anthrax, I know people who have their skin is just sloughing off because of the effects of anthrax vaccine. And then there's the medications we take, whether it's mefloquine for preventing malaria. That stuff will literally make you go nuts. It causes all kinds of nightmares, psychotic behaviors. It's sort of amazing the stuff that they give us is sort of, we're just beta testing for the military.
I actually got anthrax, like 2 rounds of anthrax, because I lost my first files. So, like, I have to look up the 2 numbers to see if I had the bad anthrax or the good anthrax, and I'm still haven't wanted to look it up. I feel fine.
I'm good.
right now.
yeah, I mean that's the scary part. Is like not even having to leave the office before you've already gotten fucked over by by the man himself. But no, did you? So, in the end, did you have personal friends, like you said, with the flaking situations, or like people like that, or?
Yeah, I know people who. I know one of them just killed himself this past year. Actually, his skin was just coming off, just sheets of it, and just coming off of his arms and his legs, and always like just blisters and scabs. It was all because of the after effects of anthrax, and he's one of two people I know. The other one actually went down to Peru with us to do ayahuasca down there.
Right, and did that help, or?
It does help him, although he's got to be on like a whole plant-based diet, and all the dieta process down there in South America helps also.
Yeah, I had a friend. It wasn't my friend. It was my mom's friend when I was a kid. But he was like Agent Orange, one of those guys who, like, and I remember as a kid, it was like felt like it wasn't widespread, but of course it was. You know what I mean? But that was like the most common. Like everyone knew about that. You know what I mean? So I was like, what? I remember as a kid talking to him, and he was telling me like, they had it started off like a dime, and then it was a quarter, and then it was, and then it had like, half my back, and then like, it was just kind of like back in the day when they were really not very, vet friendly or high tech. You know what I mean? So they were just like a lot of issues with that. But then it almost seems like with the other wars and stuff, people kind of forget that there's a lot of testing going on, a lot of weird shit, and like you watch the TV and it's like every other thing is either a medication or a lawyer trying to get you to sue somebody because you got some condition. Has there been any like class action lawsuit from towards the government or any of that kind of stuff that's actually worked, or is it always just kind of stalemated, or is there like, with all the conditions that people kind of have that are like sort of common threaded, like we guys are like, wow, it's pretty obvious, like this many, is there anybody that like done that? As
far as I know, I don't know of any class action lawsuits from former military members. I think actually we sign away our rights to do that.
Yeah, probably. They're smart enough to do that, right?
Yeah, but there is the only class action lawsuit I know about is the one against the banks who did business with terrorists and stuff from Iraq and Iran, and
for like an actual government class action lawsuit.
Yeah, it's not against the government. No.
Okay, sorry. I'm you're not allowed to do that, but no, I'm just wondering because obviously it's one of those things where, especially later when you find out like the town was built right next to a big fucking uranium mine, and everybody talked about it. Well, then everybody had.
I think families can sue, certainly, because I know at least there's one in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, where they're suing because their water supply was had all kinds of toxins in it, and there was all kinds of kids born with messed up conditions.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that all over the country right now with the water in Flint and all that kind of. I mean, you're like, wait a minute, how many years has it been? Like, I thought this was like an issue that.
Can't they just fix that?
And that's the kind of stuff where you'd think that the military would be like used to kind of come in and kick some ass and fucking make some shit happen. But nobody are they not allowed to like work internally on anything like that, or is it kind of like?
Yeah, Posse Comitatus Act has prevented any sort of, well, it prevents any military action on U.S. soil. I mean, we can train and do all that stuff. I think it might not apply to like Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know if you know that, being an engineer.
I'm sorry.
You know anything about like Army Corps of Engineers? I think they can do stuff on U.S. soil.
Oh, absolutely. They do. Well, I think when was it Katrina hit? Was it Louisiana?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had built that recession that
dike.
That failed.
Yeah.
Sorry, and and basically, I mean, it didn't hold, but I mean that's not their fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do. They build all that type of stuff too.
Yeah, like I said, the worst example. You know that dike? you know the dike that failed at the thing? That was us.
It killed all those people.
Well, I mean, that was a pretty bad storm. It's not their fault. But,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. No, I mean, well, around, like, I have my mom's farm. There was like a cistern that the U.S. Army built on the property, which was like 1949. So like after the war, it kind of came through and they went down the water line, I guess, and found like like a spring that would feed right into the cistern that they built, and then that would feed down below the crops or whatever. And you could see where they did something. I guess they're allowed to build those because it was didn't say U.S. Army like signed U.S. Army on it, but it was apparently that was what it was said. The thing is that they kind of rebuilt the water line. So that one time they were kind of allowed to, I guess. But it's kind of a shame, you know what I mean? Especially when you got like the everybody's like, I mean, as far as like bridges and infrastructure and shit like that, like, I mean, it's almost like kind of should be part of the deal. Almost like, like have confident people that can actually do the job instead of like contractors who are going to come in and make more rip off. Cause how much money gets milked on a fucking New York Bridge job?
On any concrete job.
It's one of the biggest cesspools of corruption there is out there is like the construction projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just in general, I mean, it's like, there's so much, like, kind of like mandatory shit. Like, you can't get goods in and out if you don't have a bridge, so that's kind of important. And, like, you see what happened in Italy where they fucking thing fell down.
Yes.
And you're like...
They killed like 42 people.
Yeah. And that was like, and that was just, like, brand new. Just, yeah, here you go. Yeah, here you go. And then, like, it's like it goes down in a few months, I think it was open. It was like, it wasn't that long. So... Yeah, it seems like Army Corps of Engineer back in the day kind of went like, what's funny was where I grew up was the Seabees Air Force Base, Quonset Air Force Base was like down the road. That's where, so I was kind of like growing up around the former military base, which was where where you would go if you were a kid and want to cause trouble because it was already closed or whatever. Find weird shit.
Yeah. Army Corps of Engineers, I think the place where I enlisted actually was in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they built a breakwater out there between the Cape Fear River and the ocean, and it's still standing. It was built in like 1896, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when they put their mind to it, obviously with the budget and with the fucking intentions of building good shit, I mean, they should hopefully do a great job, you know what I mean? And the thing is, when you let other people come in and do shit, they'll do crap, just to get the job done, and they're out of there.
It'd be really great if we could like refocus the military and start doing more of that stuff, because I think that stuff is a lot more needed than incessant overseas military action.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how we've put ourselves in like so many people's backyard and unnecessarily, a lot of it's very obvious when it comes to the underbelly of reality when it comes for like opiates and how they're getting into the system so easily and so much, and it's like, come on now, it's so obvious, but at the same time, it's like, that should not ever be the whole thing should never be just about oil or drugs, which it seems to be like a pretty good chunk. I'd say probably over, and what's your guess? I'd say 60%, 70% mostly about that, and the rest is all like,
seems like it, yeah,
territorial or whatever, but like big chunk of it, I think, like that's like did you guys actually, where people talk about them guarding and stuff, did you guys see that, like where they would like not chop down poppies on purpose, and like was there diversion or any of that kind of stuff?
At least, yeah, in Afghanistan, I don't think there was any overt diversion or anything like that. There was early on, I think we were burning poppy fields, but very quickly it was turning the populace against us. So they said, don't do that anymore, and we didn't really, we weren't guarding them or anything like that.
No.
And there was actually a lot of anti-opium interdiction efforts too.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it used to be like a much smaller thing, and it was a very like tame, at that point it literally was a tame group of people. You know what I mean? They weren't really like expanding their ranks too much. The ranks were staying, they were dying off, and new ones were coming in, but they weren't really generating them big of an explosion. And then when all the pills came, it blew it out the door. You know what I mean? So like now, and then that as a giant cycle, returned back where they couldn't afford that anymore, went back to here and which pumped the bottom base up. And
well, you like conspiracy theories, right? If anybody's doing it, probably the CIA.
Of course. We know that. Well, that's obvious. I get that right when I put the tinfoil helmet on. I hear that. They're CIA. I made it. That was actually the name of my original company. Was CIA. It was Cannabis in Amsterdam. So it was like the sign outside, like obviously it had the logo. The bird had the same logo, but he was smoking a joint, and yeah, it was kind of it was one of those funny things where now I don't think I would do that. Now I probably wouldn't have that as my logo and be sitting in my shop waiting for people to come in. They'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?" They'd be like, "Is this your logo?" So Afghanistan and those places, I mean, are still. I mean, everywhere over there is its own situation. Are we even troop-wise? What's our numbers there?
15,000, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's not very much. At the height of the surge in 0809, I think we had almost 100,000 or somewhere in that range, like 95,000 or something like that. But Iraq usually had a lot more, like 175,000 troops.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, I think if we'd actually like just focused on Afghanistan and never went into Iraq, we probably had a lot more success.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, like when you look at what the Russians couldn't do for the longest time, and you start looking at the type of people that you're going to go against, and you're like, okay, well, these, it's going to be a rough one, no matter how you look at it. And in the long run, I mean, it's getting less popular by the day. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird because it gets like. Like we're actually exporting oil right now, so if we just had done that a long time ago, we could have like been kicking ass because there's it's just all about being smart, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden we spend a lot of money we spend a lot of money on nothing, you know what I mean? I'm just like the stuff protecting stuff that's like old technology, you know what I mean? You guys. As far as running your, like, when you do your giveaways and stuff, and you're giving away all the clones and weed and all that stuff, is it anything like? I mean, is there like a 501, or is there like a sort of charity thing behind it? Or
I wasn't a 501 at the time, and I'm still not.
No, just do it.
We were doing it for the good of the community.
Right.
We have fiscal sponsorship and 501 pending.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I did so many events, and I was just always like, I had no clue what people were talking about. I'd be like, 501? What are you talking about? And I realized, like, oh, okay, that's how people do these things. And it is one of those people kind of take you more seriously for some reason. All of a sudden, when you're like, oh, okay, now you're all right. With cannabis stuff, it's always weird because it's like, the bank accounts impossible, and so with vets, if they get caught smoking, is it the same thing where they like fucked and they lose their benefits, or is there kind of like?
Well, it depends, I think.
Yeah.
There's if you're in compliance with your state's medical cannabis laws, then you're fine. But if you are smoking recreationally and they piss test you, then you can lose benefits, and you can lose your access to pain clinics and things like that. Definitely.
That's good for the medical community, because I mean, at least like that would be kind of a double bummer if you happen to be in a state where it's just like, if you're in Colorado and you can get it, and then you can't get it because of that. But that makes the medical scene in those places a little more interesting, because that was one of the things I was like, oh, it's very Republican and military, so that's not the greatest location. But then again, if now that everybody can smoke weed and not be a demon, their family, I think it's interesting. It's again a really important thing for vets. So what's on the agenda for you guys as far as like the 1620?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll go into that. It's 1620, the Medical Cannabis Veterans Docuseries. It's going to be 12 one-hour shows per season, one per month. The 1620 cannabis correspondents and Armed Forces veterans Steve DeFino, Matt Kahl, and Ken Proud. We're going to explore North America to see how medical cannabis impacts our veterans community. Each episode highlights various legislation and practice, veteran testaments, and veteran-owned and operated medical cannabis businesses. Our co-host will tour and fellowship with veterans nationally while sharing their stories, PTSD, loss, and suicide, as well as triumphs, and how medical cannabis has impacted their lives. 1620 show mission is to create further awareness and education that uplifts better the lives of fellow veterans. We aim to shed light on effective solutions to the physical and emotional wounds of our servicemen and women.
And like, how many do you guys have chapters kind of growing, or how's it?
Our plan is to actually spread. And we plan to build one in every single state with the Veterans Channel help.
Right, and obviously with the medical states being the focus right out of the gate, and then if they're recreational already, well then we'll go so you can work on there. But how about with the states? Well, not many left, but I mean the few states that are left, because it's getting to the point where we're down to,
we want to change policy in all of them.
Yeah.
Even there are states.
Like, wow, the sky did not fall. The thing is, everything's the same, and we made more money. I mean, which is usually the case, and that's kind of like where it's trippy that people are so resistant. But kind of like when the first when like 215 went down in California, it was when Dennis Perron and everybody wrote that. It was like they got obviously as many people to come to be there when it was like at the town hall or whatever, and they would, but it was for AIDS victims mostly, and so it was like, okay, we have to, you know what I mean? And then with vets, it shouldn't even be an issue, because it's like, every kind of injury or hurt and thing, and so struggle as it has been, at least you got that. Like, I'm surprised that they would let you do that, but that's progress right there, in a sense. But what's the goals right now? What's like the main, besides getting give me more goals.
Ideally, we're trying to build communities where veterans can heal and then find their voice and then change the world. If we can go into these states and gather together core groups of veterans who all care about natural medicine, care about freedom, then we can take these people into the capitals and in other places where lawmakers are and speak to them and actually get more lenient laws passed, allow people to use cannabis medically, recreationally if we can, anything. All movement in the direction of making this as unregulated as tomatoes is a win.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from also from a growing point of view, in certain states it must be ridiculous if you can't grow, because some of the ones that drive me nuts is when they said, like, if you live within 25 miles of a dispense, like Arizona was like that for a while. Like, I don't know if it is the same, but if you're 25 miles or less, you can't grow.
It's not real legalization without home grow.
Yeah, and so you guys give clones. You have a seed sort of. You said you were working with who as far as seeds or genetics?
I've worked with Raymond Bowser. I've worked with Ryan Rice. I've worked with Boneyard Seeds.
Nice.
I've worked with TJ Genetics, Covert Genetics. There's so many in them. And
actually, the way you got here was because of Mario too. So it was big big shout out to Mario.
Mario,
Yeah.
thanks, Mario.
He thought he was going to be here. He may have even said he was going to be here. That's a typical Mario thing. Yeah, I'll be there. It's like, no, you won't. But did you get product from him in the past, or?
I've gotten products from all of them. They've all donated huge amounts.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody's really. The community really came together when.
Do you ever do any like since they're all giveaways and stuff, and do you need like work talk to these people after and help them kind of go some of these guys or ladies maybe never grew before, or they all pretty much go straight to people who really have experience already, or as far as the growing side?
I mean, it was basically we give you the genetics, we give you the nutrients and some soil,
Right.
and you go pop some seeds. If you have any questions, you could hit me up. And I would refer them to the Nectar for the Gardens Facebook page.
Nice.
And guys go there, they teach themselves how to grow from all the other information that's being passed down from all those members. And
Gotcha.
guys started taking it on, using the product more and more, and now you got guys just self-sustainable with their own methods. I got one guy, he grows a ton for himself, and it works perfect for him.
Yeah, I mean, as a grower, and if you have a condition, then you can hone in on it because you're trying all these different things, and you're not paying a bunch of money for it, so you're not thinking like, oh my god.
Well, it's very therapeutic for us, because the plant doesn't yell. I mean, it talks to you, but it's soft how it talks to you. Sometimes she can be hard if you get bugs or mold or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But as long as you catch everything and take care of everything, you don't have any issues. And they sing and they dance, and it's just an amazing feeling being able to produce something of your own where you can take care of yourself.
Sure. I mean, and what I always enjoyed about it was the ability to take every part of it, like it's like literally the buffalo of plants, in the sense that you're like, okay, if I really I couldn't throw a stem away or anything, it's like, I'm gonna I chop them up into the certain pieces. I'm gonna use it for a pen holder or something. I figure something out. It'd be coffee stirrers is what I used to do for a long time. I just had them all stacked up, and I'd stir my coffee with it. It'd be like much better than something else. It was gonna throw as long as it's not got avid all over it or something. So that was and you guys are into organic growing, like, or close to it, or you guys
All of it, yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
The only reason why I used the bottle product because it was just easier on my back. Trying to mix soil and everything was a little harder on me. So the convenience of an organic bottled product, and boom, it's just easy to do for me.
And I think it's the future also in most ways. So it's like, if you want to future-proof your product, because you can use all of it, which is nice. That's important, because that's one of the things I see people who, grow one thing and then smoke another thing because they know what they grow.
Right.
So you're like,
exactly.
All of it. Yeah.
You're like, okay, so I probably don't want to smoke that one, but
I don't think I've been to a dispensary in 3 years.
yeah, I mean, ever since, I tried to go. I was telling somebody the story yesterday. It's like I tried to go once. Like, I've never bought. I've been a couple times. I've been people give me stuff, but I'm like, I haven't actually bought it. But the one time I did try was the day that it became legal here, like recreationally. I was like, all right, I gotta go on the day, get the thing, and put it on the wall, And I was like, take the photo. stood in line. It started raining, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in the rain, like waiting. And then I get to the end, right when it gets to me, they put a thing across. I'm like, no, we're out of weed. I was like, oh my god, like I stood for an hour, like literally like sheep, waiting for the slaughter, basically. And I was like, I don't care, I'll pay $40 a gram just to go in, get the thing, and walk out the door, But so I didn't even do it. I was like, fuck it, I'm out of here.
The first recreational sale was a veteran,
It
Sean
was.
Azariti.
It was, and Kim Sidwell was the main photographer for Denver Post here, so she was right behind him taking the photo, and then right after he got his thing, she stepped in and got number 2. She's like, I'm number 2.
That's the perks.
Yeah, because she was waiting in line with him because she knew that she already knew the program. Get the shot, and while everybody's turned around looking at him, she already got the shot in. Boom, turned around, snagged the second one. But it's. I think it was that at that time though. It still wasn't The PTSD thing hadn't switched yet, right?
No, huh? 2017 we got that passed.
Because I remember that was like the total ironic thing of it all. I was like, well, so he has to go buy weed? Like, doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
They should be getting it for free. They should have it. And that's the thing I always kind of thought with medical and recreational, which it just kind of seems so logical to me that you go, if you want to have a recreational, you have to have all, build in the tax that takes care of all the medical, because the medicals, you just make it more strict, you know what I mean? And make it like a real medical thing where you're like, take away all the fun, you know what I mean? Like, call it a medical. If you're going to call it medical, you might as well. You can't still, you know, because the problem is it's still kind of treated as one place is doing the same thing. So if you want to do medical, it should be like super well grown and done by, you know, people who like analyze it really well, and it always comes out boring, and you don't really look, you know, it's you don't want it to be super exciting and like trying to be hypey or something like that. It should just be cheap or free, depending on your situation. If it's like, you know, vets, like free, 90% of people get it for free, and like 10% have to pay for it because they're just a mess. They're just really trying to bum the system, and you let them do it in some legal, you know, whatever. You can get that boring looking weed, but it's still good. You know what I mean? But it should be free, and that should all be, you know, mostly financed by the rec. So I don't know. It's one of those. I think that's what scares them, is the possibility that it could work. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it totally does.
It will.
Yeah.
I mean, it will.
It will.
It'll easily. I mean, I got off of 20 different medications with the help of one plant. It can definitely reduce everybody's reliance on a doctor, and that's part of where the establishment's fear is. Their fear is that people won't need medical care from the authorities anymore, that we'll actually be able to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and it's not like they can't create more, you know, ways to make money. It's not like the fact that they're paying, like, surviving off of keeping people sick, which is ridiculous when, you know, something that's, because it turns into a whole, like, rigmarole or whatever, and it's literally, you know, people who own those rights to those different kinds of drugs and stuff. So, I mean, they literally know it in the first place, and they'll just, you know, like everybody who was on oxys back in the day was like, nah, it's not. You know, it's like you can see how quickly that fucking snapped back. But now everybody's more educated on that one. But then there'll be a new one. And, I mean, so like, I mean, like with vets getting strung out like that, and then do they get like dropped like early on for any? Or is there like a sort of a lifelong sort of deal, or what's the deal with the like medications and stuff like that? Since there's so much money being dumped into it.
The VA is probably one of the largest purchasers of medication in the country, definitely, and they buy by bulk, and I think all veterans really show the scars of that. We get prescribed medications at a much higher rate than the outside world, the rest of society, and a lot of times they're the high-risk ones. I was on 3 different opiates and 2 benzodiazepines.
But I mean, because I know I have a friend who has a traumatic brain injury that was like from breaking up a fight. So he hit with a pipe, and like you know, went pretty clear where it all came from. But you know, wouldn't walk again. On tons of opiates, you know. Then finally, you know, sure I will, you know. Got back. Now he's walking fine. And like, you know, just like one of those guys. And it was all weed, of course. And it's just like it's the same kind of repeat story, I guess. But at the same time, he's, you know, had to kind of take some, because at some point he just like he couldn't go completely. He had to like have just enough to keep him kind of rolling or whatever. But it was like crazy to see how. And mushrooms seems like as we kind of were talking about earlier. Yeah. I mean, he never really got a chance to use them at the right time when he was up. But before, he had told me like these, like, you know, small dose, unlike our usual macro dose.
Yeah, microdosing. That's the future.
Would kind of work really well. So, because are you back in Colorado now, or no? Are you in Texas again? Yeah. Right. So, because
I'm sort of in between.
Okay, because Colorado is actually talking about legalizing psychedelics soon, which is exciting.
Psilocybin here in Denver,
which would be not really crazy, because like in Amsterdam they had it pretty much legal, you know, and they kind of went through different waves. Like in the beginning it was like, sure, you know, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe not, you know. dried because people were being able to take too much, and like when it was fresh, you kind of like forced it. If you had to eat the whole thing, it already is a lot to eat. So you're like, all right, that looks pretty, pretty heavy. So most people would kind of dose a little bit better, but then it kind of even went from regular psilocybin to tampanesis, which are like the stones.
Yeah, they create sclerotia.
Exactly, and those are like. I mean, in my opinion, they're strange because not as enjoyable as, in a sense, as the other ones are a little more laughy. Those are a little bit more kind of
heady.
Things change and get kind of weird, but at the same time, you're kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a little stomachy and it's kind of like there's a little like all. So a lot of people get sick from it because it's kind of a little bit of like a fuzzy and weird when you read it because it's very.
Some strains are a lot worse than others too. There's certain strains that you almost guarantee that somebody's going to have upset stomach. And then there's others that don't really mess with people.
And the weird part is that they don't really actually. The first couple of nibbles, you're like, oh, this is going to be easy, and then somehow as you're going, you're like, and you're like, oh, it starts to like break down, and then you're like, oh, ooh, it's kind of, and then it kind of gets all, and then like after a little while, it kind of lingers, and it's a linger, and then like because I mean that was the whole thing about mushrooms, I think, which turned a lot of people off was, you were reminded like at least a half hour later of what you did.
You burp and all
like,
that.
Oh, that's what it is. Like especially when you start drifting from your original like zone where you are like, why do I feel so? Oh yeah, like and it is interesting. Like, you ever heard of the goo?
The goo,
which is like a concentration.
Oh yeah,
psilocybin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like looks like hash, and just do a little BB of it, and dissolves, and you don't get any of that stomach stuff. Which is like, it was literally like the one where it's like, okay, finally. Because the problem with a lot of mushrooms is you kind of like you have to yawn. And for me, it's like about if it's really strong, it's 1, but it usually is about a 3, which is how many like yawns I get before I start fucking noticing I'm tripping. Like I'll be like, and if it's really shitty, it'll be like 5 or 6. It takes like a while to kick in, and then all of a sudden you're like, huh? But you like the real good stuff, you'll be like, and then you get that little blast of oxygen into your brain or something, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it's like you have to stretch a little bit or something. You get that little stretchy moment. You're like, I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. I think you all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, Amsterdam was crazy because they had so many different, sold a lot of mushrooms, and there was times that in our store where I would be, because we sold mushrooms at the shop, and we could do dry at the time, so I'd wake up and pack them like a shitload, and we had Amsterdam was like a lot of vets that moved there because they wanted, that was their, you can always tell, it's always it's strange too, because a lot of these guys, were stationed in Germany or whatever, and they come to Amsterdam all the time, and then at a certain point, that's their new spot, you know what I mean? You had those kind of things, but, at the same time, America wasn't really this, the easiest spot for people to support themselves. And is there any kind of job groups that you guys are doing too, or you guys are kind of making into besides the cannabis and stuff, are you guys doing any kind of that job kind of work programs or anything like that, as far as helping people out? Because I know it's a big issue too, where a lot of people, it's hard to fit them in because they're they're hurting really hard physically or mentally or whatever, but there's still probably a lot of them that are still really should be kind of positioned in a good position if they had the right sort of structure.
My organization is all about self-sustainability, and an end goal is to eventually have some land where we can train veterans about self-sustainability, given by expert growers, and not just guys we know can grow something. It's they're actually being taught how to properly do this, and these people volunteer their time. We get these people out, and they can either join the workforce or have their own farm, to where they can go to a farmer's market and sell their own product if they want. If that's how they want to live.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options, but
And that's going to be here in Colorado, or
that'll be in Texas.
that'd be Texas. So yeah, so it's really like sustainability about all around, like
But
Right.
that's
off grid or
Yeah,
down the
ideally.
road.
Off grid and totally independent.
right. I mean, like solar action and all, anywhere.
Absolutely.
Throw some solar in there.
Hopefully solar, gray water, just recycling of everything to make it a closed loop system, essentially. If you can, produce all of your nutrients yourself through, making compost and things like that.
That's all
and
about
you can,
us right there.
recycle your water. If you can produce your own energy, all of these things will contribute to self-sustainability. If veterans can provide for themselves, it gives them sort of a big boost of pride in themselves that they can do something, they can take care of themselves again.
Yeah, sorry. Guiding them to the most important thing. Some more. What? Just give me a warm one or whatever. It doesn't matter.
This is water.
It's fine. Yeah,
This is like coconut.
it's fine. He's like, what? Coconut water.
Oh, that shit's awesome.
So, yeah, because I mean, also hempcrete and stuff like that would be really cool to kind of teach vets, I guess, because that's one of those things where we're producing so much kind of unusable hemp that's for none of it's for fiber, right? So, but it is a lot of like literal biomass that's not extractable, and it's still fibrous and got a lot to it. So you just centralize all that and chip it and put it back into hempcrete, things like that. I mean, you could the amount of like internal products and labor and things that could be created from it are huge. But that'd be it's a good part of the circle, I mean, like if you can get enough in Italy, and I mean, not Texas, that's the problem right now. Like right now where you're at, not going to work. But actually, if you do CBD and you get a CBD farm and you did it like that, because I saw one the other day in Pueblo, and it was like well run, secure fence, everything smart, like very well laid out, and so it was kind of like, okay, this could be anywhere really. And the hemp plants, because Pueblo is pretty much Texas in a sense, as far as like style of weather, and yeah, it can get up to 100 and whatever, and it can get down to really cold, but it's still there is water there if you need it, because that's the only thing you need to sort of supply. But besides that, everything else is sort of similar in the sense of like it's not Kentucky, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, having to sit there and amend it and everything.
Not throw a seed down and be like, whatever. It's like, you got to actually work it a little bit.
I actually work mostly on the hemp side of things, at least breeding and stuff like that. I'm trying to make a dual use crop, one that's good for fiber and herd and stuff like that, and also has a nice big fat elbow length bud at the top, high CBD. The last generation tested about 16-18% in that range.
That's awesome. And then because I'm going to be doing a project in Colombia, and it's going to be all CBD. Mm-hmm. The fiber situation there, I mean, the problem is it is like it can rain heavy, so it's like, but it can be like quick and then it's gone. And in a sense, you want to. It's almost like too harsh in some areas, but it's not. It only goes between 55 and normally goes between 50. It's kind of beautiful, 55 and 95 of the location. So it's, but like I said, flash, which will knock it all. Will take it all out almost. So it's mostly covered. And I have no idea where I was going with that. But in the oil, as far as hemp varieties, yeah, the fiber production side, I mean, it hasn't really happened in America yet because there's really no processing thing to do anything with the fiber too. So that's where we get kind of bottleneck. We're gonna get a bottleneck there too. There's a couple people, Summer from Glenwood Springs, from she's the only like kind of real hemp loom that's here, and they're actually processing small amounts, and that's like the fiber, but as far as for hempcrete and stuff, fiber works great too.
Yeah, fiber, herd, the whole thing works.
Mm-hmm.
Paper too. That's what I've been doing with most of my stocks. It's small quantities right now. A lot of small crosses. A couple thousand plants, and you just make judicious crosses, and then all this stuff. I just have all these stocks, and wondering what to do with them. I tried to make animal bedding, but I want to make something that's useful to me that maybe we could use in the event of complete government meltdown. And paper would.
Well, paper's a great craft. Do you know DOS? You know DOS?
Yeah. The ice cream guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen his paper mill?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had that behind our spot maybe 4 years ago or something like that, and it was definitely laborious and time consuming, but rewarding in the sense that you get the ability to inlay like seeds, things like that into the paper. There's a lot of
leaves.
There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, and then also just like you said, like learning the craft is almost it's amazing, but it's you kind of realize okay, well that's not gonna really fly as far as like cranking them out, you know what I mean? But
it's a specialty product.
But in general, I think in the next few years, biomass is going to be kind of the most important part. Like how much tonnage you got, which is exactly almost like quote I was kind of saying for years. I was saying well, everybody cares about cannabis, and cannabis is about maybe tons if you're lucky. And talking about hemp, you're talking about acres and acres and hectares and fucking quadrants, getting to huge volumes, and then train loads, and that's going to happen at some point. It's now, so it will. It's once we can go interstate, that'll happen. Right now, there's no train cars loaded with weed yet, but I think once it does, it will be. It'll be West Coast to East Coast loaded.
We got to legalize it federally.
Yeah,
gotta do that.
Well, I mean, in a way, I'm not that excited about it, though. I'm also a little bit because then it's there's no stopping and any all the money's just
big business.
It's already there. I mean,
yeah.
You heard about the guys from Constellation, right? Corona.
No.
Canopy, which is one of the bigger ones from Canada. They just sold not even a huge chunk of their company, but pretty sizable, and for they gave it 3.8 billion right now, and then another 5 point something billion.
Man,
I was like, damn, I'm
big money,
close to 10 billion. I was like, oh my god. And this is out of the gate without even having a product, just ready to go. So and they have Corona, so they're going to go huge.
Yeah.
So that means there's this someone's been told to get ready. So that already just shows you, because nobody would invest that much money without knowing that it's about to be illegal. And so they better have everything tooled up and ready to roll. So
Canada's supposed to be legal now, aren't they? They just a couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that means, that those kind of companies can operate. They are Canadian, so they're going to operate all over the place wherever they can, except for here, about pretty much. So yeah, it's I know they so it's one of those. It's as much as we think it's pretty big right now, it's about to get huge, and so hopefully
let them all fail.
There's gonna be but there's gonna be a lot of people who just don't care.
No, I know.
Yeah,
it's the same as now with pens and
exactly
kids smoking fucking jewels and shit. It smokes like a pineapple. You're like, that's not what tobacco smoke tastes like. And now they're all. I was watching some stupid show last night. They're all addicted. I was like, oh my god, I'm addicted to these little cartridges. Same, and I try over and over to if I'm traveling and someone gives me one, I'll use it, but ends up in the drawer, because it's I still like weed.
Yeah, I like actual flower, and I can smoke extracts as long as it's the stuff that I grew and had processed.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those. It's very personal. Personal. But weed is more effective overall. Anyway, I think it's just kind of it hits way more sort of points. Whenever you do dabs, you're kind of you get more-ish, you know what I mean? You want to smoke more, then you don't
Yeah.
really, it doesn't really get you. Sometimes, I mean, you're really tired, just a couple dabs, and you wake up like, whoa, that was, you know, it kind of feels like it was strong then, but you probably were just tired, you know? Whereas with weed, you get kind of amped up first and then playing out or whatever. But for me, it's like, you know, I have a joint in my hand and I'm like, whoa, where does this joint come from? You're like, oh shit, I rolled that. That must have been, oh yeah. And then, you know, that's it. You've just psyched yourself out. So you're artificially high at that point.
One of the best uses for extract found is rescue situations for extreme pain. People are in a lot of pain, they need immediate relief. You know, they don't have the time to sit around and smoke a joint. So if you can get a little dab and enough medicine, as much as would be contained in an entire joint, then you can really save them a lot of suffering and trouble.
Right. And so like webs, we got, yeah, we're like 15 minutes out, 10 minutes out. So we'll just like talk about. Is there any other? Because I know you guys had a list of stuff when you first came. So was there anybody else you have to? We have to get in trouble. You forgot about.
Do you have anything more about 1620 and the Veterans Channel?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about how that all works.
Yeah, so
we can go even more than 15, but about 15. So.
All right. So in Oregon, we're going up next month to Oregon, and we're gonna go see like Clay Wolf. We're gonna go deep sea fishing with Dockside Charters. We're gonna go talk to Mike Kahl at Geek Farms.
These are all veterans, veteran-owned businesses.
Sure.
Right. The 28th, we're gonna go tour Nectar for the Gods. The 29th, we're gonna be on Jack Wiz podcast, and the 30th, I don't know. It's still kind of tentative what we're gonna do with that.
Sweet. So that's a good run right there. And then guys, yeah, you said you're doing a documentary, so.
Yeah, the 1620 documentary. It's going to be one American city every single month, and we're trying to build, you know, in each one of these cities, each one of these states, so that we can affect policy there and free that.
And then is that going to be like a post-production thing later, where you get all the cities together and then make a nice polished thing, or are you going to kind of do it live and kind of keep it all raw, like
every month?
I think it's going to be edited, right?
It's going to be edited. It's going to be one show every month.
Yeah.
If, you know, we have a 12-month series.
Couple cities, hopefully, or each one.
Right. Well, each state, a new state every month. We're going to go visit, and
yeah, exactly. Hit all the cities in the state. And then,
right.
Nice.
And we're still trying to look for sponsors too. So.
Yeah. If you are a sponsor and you want to help us out,
give us addresses.
Yep. Yeah, we are looking for sponsors, because without you guys, this is going to become increasingly difficult as we move through. You can email our sponsorship at info@veteransmediacorp.com. That's veterans, or info@veteransmediacorp.com.
Okay, cool. And that's going to be starting right now, or it's already started, or what's the deal with it?
We just had the first series released today.
Oh, sweet.
So there's like an 8-minute segment of the intro into Colorado. The second series and the third series part will be released later. I can't remember. It's not going to be too long though.
yeah, late next month is going to be when we're filming, and then they'll probably release a couple weeks after that.
Right.
And the one that you say released, it's like it's on YouTube already, or it's on something else?
Oh,
it's
on their platform.
They have their own.
Yeah.
Okay,
So veteranstelevision.com?
I think so, yeah.
okay.
VeteransTelevisionChannel.com.
VeteransTelevisionChannel.com.
Okay, sweet. And then on there they were going to be like the subs that pop up to look at. What was the name of it? So what would they be looking for once again on there?
It'll be the first video. Let's see here. If I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We get to go to all of these states and really take the temperature and see if there's any further work that we can do to actually free up people's ability to use nature to heal themselves.
Yeah, and then see, you pulled it up.
Yeah, so basically you type in Veterans Channel, veteranstelevision.com, and then it comes to this, you hit accept, and then you'll go over to the home button, and it pulls up 1620, the medical.
Gotcha.
Transition, a series of films celebrating unique stories of veterans as they transition to civilian life.
Sweet. And then you can just click there and it'll play the first.
Right, and it's like the first 8 minutes of it.
Sweet. Well, and then so I guess like I said, it's going to kind of roll out as it goes down.
Exactly, and this is going to be, we're going to get deeper and deeper into situations. We're looking to, look for communities that don't exist and make them exist.
Mm-hmm.
Try to bring veterans out of isolation and bring them back into civilization. Go talk to city council, legislation. Hopefully, maybe we can see governors, senators, Congress. I mean, the door is open to what we could do. We're just trying to get our voice heard, to let them know that veterans need a choice, and that this choice is a good choice. It's a safe choice. I mean, I was on 20 plus, just like Matt, medications, and I'm down to 4 now. So this is a necessary movement that we need to make, because lost a friend. The night we were shooting this out on this property, the night my buddy killed himself.
Wow.
He was a soldier I served with in Echo Company, and it really hit me, and it really changed my perspective on a lot of things and brought me back to this. And now it's like, we can't lose anymore. The fight, we have to think of bigger ways to come out and attack this, to where people can see what we're doing. There's real change. We get the facts out there. They're hearing from veterans. These veterans are going to share their stories about how they've been able to overcome their PTSD and their disabilities. And it's really from a veteran. It's not just, I heard this from somebody. And we can take this to whoever is running this country and say, look, this is what's happening. This is proof. This isn't made up. We're not lying to you. I mean, look, they are saying it. This is working for them. You can see it. And all we're trying to do is show them that we are figuring out ways to heal ourselves, and you need to get on board.
Yeah, if we're going to stop 22 suicides a day, we got to pull out all the stops, and there's no stone we can leave unturned.
Yeah, I mean, before it was not even about vets, but just in general, like rehab centers and stuff. I was always thinking, like, wouldn't it be this like dab rehab kind of right away? Because it's like people who smoked a lot of dabs, a lot of times were in situations where it was either personal issues or physical issues, but they like didn't even do it, didn't even care that. I mean, they cared, of course, how it was, but I mean, you could just tell that they really like would be suffering if it was just regular weed. Like,
Well, one of the goals is trying to have somebody either sponsor a building or something where we can come in and, at least in the legal states, educate the veterans on how to properly use this medicine. Because it's not just about rolling up a joint. I mean, sure, you can roll up a joint and you can feel better, but let's figure out in the next step, let's figure out how to properly dose yourself so you're not wasting money. Because we, like Matt said, we're on fixed budgets already. So now it's like educating them to properly dose. How do they maintain everything? How to keep everything going? Maybe teach them how to grow if it's legal in that state, and truly let them be able to be self-sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, we know the profits are the problem that keeps the drug companies from even like exploring the issue. Because they know that, like, by the way, if we even open that Pandora's box a tiny bit, they'd be like, you know what, it actually helps this and it helps me with that, you know what I mean? Fuck, there's 2 things right there, and then it might be 5 prescriptions for the 2 things, and you're like, times a million,
And educate veterans also on other methods of healing besides just cannabis, all other natural medicines. It's got to be, we literally have to scout out any options that seem promising. There's people dying like right now. I just want to mention this real quick also. I'm releasing a documentary right now called From Shock to Awe, and that's about veterans finding healing through cannabis, ayahuasca, and MDMA.
Sweet, that's awesome. And that's going to be like next year kind of deal, or?
It's actually, I think October 1st. It's being shown in Brooklyn, and we released it at Illuminate Film Festival earlier this year. But the official release date is November 12th, the day after Veterans Day. So
sweet. So, okay, great. So this
should be here
quick.
Yeah, it should be. There's going to be. It's going to be shown either in Colorado Springs or Denver. We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, definitely keep us informed on that, because that sounds awesome. There's a lot to be sort of, can go in, like I said, every direction when it comes to like issues related to, but at the same time, the capacity of America to kind of like even pay attention anymore. Seems to be about like as close as much as me. I'm actually I'm a great example, but no. But in general, the sad part is like this seems like a repeat of like every kind of war has its like sort of after effects, and like we had so many in such a short amount of time, and so many just little, I can consider some of them unknown to anybody, or there's just all this crazy shit going on, and then at the end of the day, like you said, you sign all these things, you sign everything away, you can't sue them, you can't do this, and now there's so much kind of unnecessary fallout from all that stuff, which we're all thinking that cannabis helps on a big portion of it. In 2 years from now, let's just say it's going to be legal because we've already all kind of agreed. It's like seems to be the year 2020. Then what are you guys going to fight for after that? Like if it gets legal, let's say that's like the dream right now. But what's
I want to legalize all nature.
Oh yeah, that's
all
awesome.
of nature.
Uh-huh.
There's no place that nature should be a crime. Nobody is free as long as nature's illegal. And I mean, we're the first country in the world to be founded on an idea, and the idea was basically freedom.
Right. And do we follow that? Not really. Well, we complicate it, of course.
From my standpoint, I'd like to see veterans have free insurance.
Yeah.
No matter what.
That's what I was going
Just
at
no
earlier.
co-payments, nothing. Like, here you go. Sorry you got blown up. Sorry your family's in turmoil because you're PTSD. Here's at least some free insurance. Go get any of the help you need. Like, let's open the doors for actually really healing instead of saying, oh, sorry, you got to wait 3 months to see a doctor because we're so backfilled. It's like, come on, give veterans the free choice to go see anyone they want for free, and then it's on the government's dime. I mean, sorry. I mean, something's got to change, but, that's one thing I'd love to see.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I was like, I kind of would assume that you and your family would have that at least, being
We have good insurance, but,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there's some things they don't cover, and it's like, really? Come on.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure they kind of like any insurance thing, they cherry pick things that are the most common or the most expensive, common, and kind of make it like word it so it's almost impossible or something. So, and then so I mean, it'd be great to see psychedelics in a sense, or just medicinal plants in general. I think more utilized, especially on soil conditioning and all that kind of stuff. It's like pretty obvious that we don't want to move towards even more industrial, which unfortunately we kind of taught that to everybody else, and now we have to relearn it ourselves. So
Yeah.
good luck on that. Like release the beast in a sense.
That's why that self-sustainability is so important, because we're trying to teach them the correct ways to farm instead of killing their soil to where they have to just use it for something else. And it's like, let's keep the land alive and keep yourself being fed and your family fed and others fed, and let's feed the world together.
Yeah, you can only really save the world one person at a time, and we're going to try.
For sure. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to do a little sponsor shout out. So, but you guys can feel free to finally get up off those chairs, because I'm tough 2 hours. I think we did almost 2 hours. We did how long did we do total on the final third thing? Like hour and 50. See, we're wrapping it up. To the 2 hour special. So I was calling it that. So we had to at least kind of fulfill that part of the situation. But I'm going to do a sponsor wrap up and all that. So like I said, you guys can you're free to leave now. But it was awesome having you guys on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very
like
much.
I said, sorry for our unprofessionalism, but that's comes with the territory. We try to be militant about shit, but it doesn't really work out so much. So
It is what it is.
we have our own. So thanks for coming through, and hopefully we'll be cross the path soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys are free to go. Be free. But in general, I wanted to just do a big shout out now to my guys from New Millennium Nutrients. They'll be on the show real soon too. We're going to have a little chat about their program and how it's sort of blowing up all over the country. If you are a large-scale commercial grower and you haven't heard of it yet, just check out newmillenniumnutrients.com. You'll find program that's easy to expand, easy to calculate, and blowing some monster plant stuff out from it. So it's like one of those deals where it's a win-win. So check them out, newmillenniumnutrients.com. Check out all the products. It's pretty much straightforward as far as the calculator goes. You punch in what you're trying to do. It'll tell you what you need. And from that point on, it's there's a couple different programs, a regular program, and then there's also a pro program, which adds a few other products like Green Sensation and Bud Swell, which are both different companies, but at the same time complement each other. And you can also custom blend those formulas that you already have and kind of work it in without a big hassle. So it's a great formula, and it makes sense to jump on that if you can. And also, like I said, just if it's not available, just go get it there, and you'll be the guy everyone will be thanking, which is always the way to go. Also, Incredibles edibles. They are definitely coming on soon. Derek has already threatened yesterday to come on, lay down some law, but maybe he's going to come down at least in the next week or two with some big announcements, possibly. Big announcements. Possibly, though. He's not sure. He's thinking about it. Maybe big announcements, I should say. But Incredibles, always on point with their edibles. They're like the most consistent, easy to use. Everything they have is numbered, and you can tell how much the dosage is, and even after the fact when you open up the bar. So that makes it very convenient. But also, they've got plenty of other stuff, not just candy, but they have hard candies and gummies, and they also have the bath salts and things like that. Not those. Don't get excited. See, I say bath salts, and people get all excited. They're like, "Really? Bath salts?" They're like real bath salts that you lay in the bath with. And those are. Is that like 10,000 times better now? All of a sudden? Yeah, of course it is. In my ears, it is now. See, at the end of the show, now we sound perfect. But anyway, I don't know. What was I babbling about? Who knows? Something. Oh yeah, duh. I was on my Incredibles. See, that's what happens when you eat edibles. Didn't have any today, actually. That's what happens. Don't eat edibles in my case. But Incredibles edibles, consistent. Bath salts, like I think is where I ended off at. That was it. Now it's all coming back to me. You can check them out at iloveincredibles.com. Store finder if you're in Colorado or in Nevada or places that they're already at. And you can go to get their CBD products too, which are also great. They even got animal ones coming out too, or if they're not out already. Sweet. Incredible inputs, all grown in-house. The best oils and pens, if you can get them. They're always sold out, it seems like. But iloveincredibles.com. Check it out. Pick it up. And then we have Jeremy over at Build a Soil, the source for all of your organic inputs. And if you're into no-till or you're into any kind of extreme gardening, not really extreme gardening, but sounds good, right? Yeah. Like that, hit a button. Extreme gardener. No, but in general, if you're just like, intense and you really want to make sure your shit is fire, then you want to check out buildasoil.com, and you can find products that are hard to find, impossible to find really in most shops, because most places are giving you bottles and saying go follow this formula. These guys are going to tell you what you need to develop your own soil, and that's why they're called Build a Soil. It's real pretty straightforward for mycorrhizals and for IPM, which is your integrated pest management stuff, predator mites, things like that, ladybugs, that fun stuff. One-stop shop. They deliver inside of Colorado. They can get a 500 up to, if you're anything over $500 is like free. So if you have like, bunch of soil and swag, and get it delivered still. Deal. Free soil delivery. Killing the game. You can also call them at 855-877-SOIL. Talk to a human or an answering machine. I can't guarantee you'll talk to a human, but if you do, they'll be super knowledgeable and know exactly what you need, which is, that's the whole point of calling people. Cece was about to kill somebody today when she was calling them because they were like pretending like they didn't get our shit back. You know, one of those deals. The old I sent it back 2 months ago. You had to like dig out the thing and find busted their ass. Got it all settled. Speaking of getting settled, what else we got? Right after that, we would go straight to WallaceWow.com, the guy with the big giant pumpkins. He is the man right now, because right now is like a couple weeks away from pumpkin season, where they start to like do the big weigh-offs and stuff. So he's literally sitting out there right now watching them just settle in and hopefully not cracking and all that kind of good stuff. And so they have definitely broken some records right out of that farm that I went and saw last time I was there, and it was like 80 or world's record fucking pumpkins. And so, you know, he's always going to be in the top 3 usually. So let's hope he cracks the code this year and goes for the gold. But you know, the thing that's crazy about those guys is they're fucking competing with the Europeans, and the Europeans have like whole greenhouses built just for the pumpkins. I'm like, oh, well, for that dude, of course they're gonna crush you. They got like no weather conditions. You got like, you're out in the middle of Rhode Island. It's like rough. Good luck, Ron. So WallaceWow.com and check them out. Tell them I sent you anything micro related you want to talk to these guys, because they're the soil dudes of all soil dudes, and we'll set you straight. Besides the worms, of course, but for the most part, you need some mycorrhizal, whatever. Give him a shout. And also, we have seeds here now. Actually, before seeds are now, even we have. Well, let's do seeds here now. We started. Fuck it. Seedsherenow.com. Who were going to bring us Loud Seeds, and we were going to do another hour, which would have been before this part, so it would have been like hours ago. You already would have forgotten about it. Instead, we're going to redo it again, so you can have no excuses, because if you heard this show and you didn't listen to that show, then you're lame. You're lame, man. No, it's going to be good, because we need to talk to James on a little more than an hour, probably, anyway. Lots to talk about, kid. Lots to talk about. But Caesar now is the one-stop shop for any of the top American breeders. Usually about 35 in the stable at any given time, and he's your man if you want to get like lost packs, anything like that. You just go to Seedaholics, which is a link on that page, or you can look it up separately. And Seedaholics.com is where you're going to find also charities, which we should link you guys up with them, because anything we do on there, the charity gets 100% of the money. So it's like if you got like a breeder that you want to throw seeds up on there, you kind of bang it in, it's all set up already for the charity. So that's something we'll have to talk about that. And then I want my skim, I want my top, I want 10% of your vet charity. No, I'm just kidding. Adam Dunn busted skimming off the vets. So that would be a bad headline. It's not happening. In general, Seedaholics is your one-stop shop for all these, like I said, charities, lost packs, last packs, things like that. And then everybody knows that Seeds Here Now is where you go to get your seeds. And also, special-wise, usually he'd call in and we'd all be killing it like that. And I wouldn't have to say nothing, because I'd just be like, Seeds Here Now, and go take it away, James. But since we've struggled to even get on the air, but we managed to do it flawlessly in the end. Amazing! Like you are now JTI. It's special. It's official. You've achieved JTI now. Josh, the intern. Now you're now an intern. I dubbed the intern. Yes, there you go. So unpaid skilled labor. That's the deal. that's the way to go. It's not about unskilled labor. It's paid skilled labor. So it's my whole new bracket I've created. In general, though, thanks for making that all work. But seedsherenow.com is always on point as far as delivery. If you get something you don't like, or that doesn't perform the way you thought it was, or just crap, or whatever, bam, get to them. They'll get it back. Get you a refund in a new pack of the same and/or same value, whatever. As long as you're happy, they're happy. Which is great, because when you're dealing with 35 different breeders, it's like a lot to deal with. And me being one of them knows that if you have somebody like him who can back you up, then everybody kind of rolls smooth, and you might have a pack here and there, which sucks. So or it doesn't work, or it's all males and they're looking for females. So who knows? But in general, those are your guys. And let's see, last but not least, I got Treasure, which is my boys out in Barcelona. So if you are in Barcelona and you want to go to a smoke shop, which is a weed shop, obviously, I'm talking about, not like a smoke shop to buy crap, then check out Treasure Barcelona. Go to Facebook and check them out. But it's Tresur, not treasure like treasure, but Treasure. Those guys. Sorry. We'll hook you up with free membership if you say, Adam Dunn show. Man, my throat just died. That was it. I'm done. See you guys next week. Big shout out to my beautiful wife, Steve, who's down at the street eating some killer pizza with my son, Nick, who's going to come in and make a big mess in about 10 minutes here. So we luckily are sneaking out of the studio just for making it all happen. Now, JTI, you are no longer Josh. You are JTI. Thanks, Steve and Matt, for coming through. And what's that? Amy. Okay, I think it's a man. Okay, I'm double checking. Amy. So for hanging in there as we struggled with our incredibly shitty organizational skills in the beginning, but it was not anybody's fault except my own, because, like I said, I'm working off of ancient equipment that I can't even use, which I'm useless. So it's my fault. If I was a real podcaster, I would have been able to just wing it with the equipment I have, but I guess I'm not. So working on it, guys. See you guys next week. Have a good long weekend. Peace.